Two sisters entered the courtroom together. Same face, same voice, same childhood story. But before the day ended, only one of them would leave with the truth. Because somewhere between their identical smiles and their identical testimony, something didn't add up. And once the court began to notice the smallest detail, the entire story started to collapse. Before the truth unfolds, subscribe to the Unheard Witness. Because sometimes the loudest lie is the one hiding behind a familiar face. The courtroom had expected a routine hearing, a property dispute between siblings. Nothing unusual. Their parents had passed away 2 years earlier. They left behind a house, a modest inheritance, and a written will dividing everything equally between their daughters. But 6 months before the trial, the property title had been quietly transferred. The house now belonged to only one sister. The other sister discovered the change while attempting to refinance the property. Her name was gone. The documents showed a signature authorizing the transfer, a signature that looked identical to hers. The sister who owned the house claimed the signature was legitimate. She said her sibling had willingly signed the transfer months earlier. According to her story, the arrangement had been discussed privately. The house would remain with one sister. The other would receive a cash payment later. But the payment never arrived. Instead, the sister who lost the house reported the transfer as fraud. And now the case had arrived in court. The judge studied the file carefully because the situation seemed strangely balanced. Two identical sisters, two completely different stories. One claimed deception. The other claimed agreement. The document at the center of the case looked convincing. The signature appeared genuine. The bank notary who processed the paperwork confirmed both sisters had visited the office together. Everything pointed toward a legitimate transfer. The prosecutor presented the evidence calmly. The document was authentic. The notary verified the identities. The property registry accepted the transfer. Nothing illegal appeared in the paperwork. If fraud had occurred, it was extremely well hidden. The sister who filed the complaint sat quietly during the presentation. Her posture remained tense, her eyes fixed on the document, displayed on the courtroom screen. The other sister looked calm, confident, almost patient, as if she believed the truth would eventually defend itself. The judge called the first sister to the stand. She described discovering the property change months after it happened. She said she had never agreed to transfer ownership. She insisted the signature on the document was not hers. The prosecutor asked if she remembered visiting the notary office that day. She said yes, but she believed they were signing temporary paperwork related to property taxes. Nothing about ownership. The prosecutor then asked why she signed documents without reading them carefully. She paused, then answered quietly, because she trusted her sister. The courtroom remained silent for several seconds. Trust inside families can hide many mistakes. The prosecutor finished questioning. Then the defense attorney called the other sister to testify. She walked to the stand confidently. Her version of events sounded smooth, clear, organized. She explained that both sisters had discussed the property transfer weeks earlier. The house required expensive repairs. She offered to take full responsibility for it. Her sister agreed. In return, she promised financial compensation once the property was renovated and sold. The defense attorney asked if the agreement had been written anywhere. She answered no, but both sisters understood it clearly. The attorney asked why the payment had not been made yet. She explained the renovation process had taken longer than expected. The payment would happen later. The judge listened carefully, because both stories sounded possible. The signature on the document matched the complaining sister. The notary remembered verifying both identities. Nothing looked forged. But something about the situation still felt strange. The defense rested. The judge reviewed the file again, then asked the court clerk to display the notary logbook from the day of the signing. The record confirmed the appointment. Both sisters arrived together. Both presented identification. Both signed the document. The clerk also displayed a security still image from the office camera. The two sisters sitting across the notary desk. Identical faces, identical hair, even the clothing looked similar. The judge leaned slightly closer to the screen, because one small detail caught his attention. The timestamp showed the appointment lasted less than 4 minutes. The judge frowned slightly. Property transfers usually take longer. Verification, reading documents, explaining legal consequences. 4 minutes felt unusually fast. The defense attorney explained that the sisters had prepared everything beforehand. The notary only needed to witness the signatures. The explanation sounded reasonable, but the judge asked one more question. He requested the court examine the signature itself more closely. The clerk zoomed in on the digital image. The letters looked smooth, confident, but the judge noticed something subtle. The direction of the final stroke. It curved slightly upward. The complaining sister's signature on earlier legal documents curved downward. The difference was small, almost invisible, but the judge asked the court to retrieve additional samples. The clerk displayed several older signatures from previous bank forms. Every one of them ended with the same downward motion. The courtroom became very quiet, because the property document ended differently. The final stroke curved upward. The defense attorney quickly explained that signatures can change over time. Stress, health, mood, all can affect handwriting. The explanation sounded logical, but the judge asked one final question. He asked the notary to return to the stand. The notary confirmed, verifying both sisters' identification cards. But when the judge asked which sister signed first, the notary hesitated, then admitted he could not remember clearly. The appointment had been brief. He only recalled that both women signed quickly. The judge leaned back slightly, then asked the clerk to display the security footage again. This time, the video played slowly, frame by frame. The sisters entered the office together. They sat side by side. The notary placed the document on the desk. Then something unexpected appeared in the footage. The sister who currently owned the house switched seats briefly, only for a moment, just long enough to reach across the desk and sign first. Then they switched back. The movement looked small, almost casual, but the camera captured it clearly. The courtroom watched silently, because the seat closer to the notary desk was where the property owner should have signed. But the footage suggested something different. The complaining sister never actually touched the document. The judge turned toward the notary. He asked if the sisters had introduced themselves clearly during the appointment. The notary admitted something uncomfortable. Because they looked identical, he had relied mostly on the identification cards they handed him. He did not carefully watch who signed which line. The realization spread slowly across the courtroom. The sister who gained ownership had positioned herself to sign both names, one signature for herself, one signature pretending to be her sibling. The final upward stroke revealed the difference, because she had imitated the handwriting, but she had never perfectly copied the ending. The sister who lost the house sat motionless as the truth unfolded. The other sister lowered her eyes, because the story that once sounded smooth had finally collapsed. When two sisters walked into that courtroom together, but only one of them had been telling the truth from the beginning, and the smallest detail in a single signature had exposed everything.